Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our weekly obsession with
Devin.
Maria. We have a super special episode ahead for you guys. You're going to notice we're in kind of different locations throughout the video. Do you want to tell them
And
why?
and we have different clothes
We
on.
have different clothes
So
on. Yeah, we should have planned
yeah,
that better.
I know. So we had a super fun call with a wonderful woman, and we didn't have time to do everything, the intro, the interview, and the conclusion, because as we said before, we're working with what pockets of time we have. So we actually recorded this 2 days ago, or we recorded the interview part 2 days ago. So we're coming on today to give you guys a little introduction, and then you'll get the video of our interview with her, raw, uncut, unedited. And then we'll pop back in after and give you guys a little conclusion and our thoughts.
Yeah. So in real time, it's actually Friday today, and I'm at work. If you can tell, I'm in the conference room. So, like Devin said, just kind of squeezing in things as we can. But I don't know about you, Devin. This week has been insane for me.
Literally nuts.
Ah,
Nuts.
well, I know Sean has probably been working a lot because we had that crazy storm at the beginning of the week. And for people that don't live in the area, we had major flooding. Like, the children's center where my daughter goes closed on Monday. I couldn't even get to the town that I work in because of road closure. So I had to stay home. I think things are kind of back up and running now, but I know Sean was working for how long?
Yeah, Sean went in like normal Monday. He almost actually didn't go in because both of our ponds were like overflowing, and he was like afraid of what was going to happen here. But anyway, so he left, and he had to like go in a roundabout kind of way to get there because 107 had already closed. And so he was there, and that was the other, I woke up without power. It's just like, but
And
luckily it was,
107 is like a main local road, just.
yeah, yeah.
But and how long did you not have power?
Our power it went out at like 6:30 a.m. So it was just after he left. And then it came back on. It was like 7 o'clock that night. So it really wasn't that bad. Like it was fine. He worked till like 1 a.m., I think. So I mean, considering what he's done before, it wasn't terrible, but it was just a hot mess all over the place.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like we're so reliant on electricity now, and you don't realize it until you have to go even 20 minutes without it.
Yeah. And like Drew kept doing the thing where he like, first off, the power run goes out, and he like was still in his room. So his fan shuts off, his nightlight shuts off, which it was morning. So it's not like the nightlight was a big deal, but still he like comes running in the room, and he's like, I don't think we have power. My
Oh, no.
fan just shut. And I'm like, no, we don't. It just went out. It's fine. So he like literally turns around, walks into the bathroom, and I hear him hit the switch. And he comes running back in, and he's like, I don't know why the bathroom lights won't work. And I'm like, it's because we don't have power. But then I found myself doing the same thing all day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Or like you go to turn the coffee machine on, you're just like,
Yes.
turning on.
Did Chris make it to work?
Yeah. I think that one of the roads near us ended up closing after the water rose after he had left, but he
Yeah.
didn't have any problem leaving or coming home. And it
Yeah.
was funny because we live on this back road, and I can see the main road on the other side of the river. And our back road has been closed because, in Vermont, we have this season between winter and spring called mud season. And the dirt roads get really soft. And anyway, underneath part of the road had kind of washed out, and we're the only house on the road. So they closed. Sorry, I actually lost my shoe just now. It's driving me nuts. It's under the table. But anyway, the road's been closed for 2 weeks, and it's really nice because it makes it very quiet. But
Yeah.
I noticed that there's all these people driving up and down the road, and I thought, geez, the road's closed. What are these people doing? And then I realized when I got down to the bottom of the driveway, the town crew was out, and they had opened it temporarily. Well, it's still open, so they must have speed fixed it, but they had opened
Yeah.
it because the main road was flooded. You could see
Yeah.
I just shook the table too. I also, before we connect to our interview, I want to tell you guys that the conference room, the tabletop is a little shaky, so I'm trying not to touch it, but
I keep telling Maria to stop touching it because all of a sudden it's like earthquake.
And I just want to show you the doors because at some point people walk by and they look in here, and actually during the interview, I work in sales, like I told you guys, but our sales director walked by and he actually thought, Devin, that you were one of our customers and that I was doing a sales call. So he was knocking on the window because he was going to come in and say hello. And I went like this. So
I don't think our guest noticed it, but I totally picked up on it because I was like,
well, if she's
I heard a little
now, I apologize. It was nothing to do with the interview.
No, it was kind of comical. I figured at one point because you had said you were gonna like put a sign on the door or something.
Well, sometimes we've hosted our local book club here before, also in the conference room, and we had a sign up that said book club in session, private or something, and somebody like legit walked in and she opened the doors and she said, "Oh, I just wanted to say hello to the book club. What did you read?" And blah blah blah. We're like, this is like a private time, but what I mean, they're glass doors. What can you do? You know, like people get curious and want to say hello and see what's going on.
Well, and now some of those people might watch this episode and now they're going to be like, oh, anytime Maria's in the conference room,
she's not actually working.
Right. You're on your lunch. Like it's all good.
Right now I'm taking my lunch.
Yes.
It may be a little longer than my typical lunch, but what can you do? Yeah, so we had definitely a crazy week and trying to fit stuff, like Devin said. But one thing that we've both been obsessed by for as long as almost we've been friends, I think, is, do you want to say it?
No, you go for it.
The Bachelor. It's like one of my most guilty pleasures still to this day. I'm 30-something years old and I watch The Bachelor.
Yeah. And it was something that like before we had kids, like, and I mean, everybody, especially women do this all over the place. So it's not going to be a surprise to some of you, but like before we had kids, and it was like before Hulu and before like the recording service. So it was like we legit had to get together. It was watched in real time. And if you missed it, you were out of luck. Like, so it was like, and we, wine and we would be up late and rally. And I mean, there was definitely like a few years in the middle where like life was just like too crazy. And
well, you had Drew,
but
and then, I remember we did watch Jake Pavelka
when he was, when he was a baby. Yeah.
In the town that you lived in. I was trying really hard to be so generic.
I feel like it is what it is.
Whatever. But so anyway, we would go to Devin's house because she had the baby and we'd pass him around and we'd drink wine and we'd watch The Bachelor. And then, I think life got kind of crazy. I did a semester abroad. So I was gone one season and
but that's the great thing now is you can literally go back and watch any season
and at any time too. Like I just can't stay up that late anymore.
No, God, no. I feel like, and it's so funny too, because now like we're totally like, even if we're not watching it together, we sometimes watch it together, or like I am like, cannot wait. So it's like the next morning after it's like on Hulu, it's like the first nap time. I'm like, I gotta watch The Bachelor, and you're like, don't say anything. Like keep your mouth. or like this last season, I was like,
oh my God, I can't.
I had to stay off social media because it took me like a few days to watch it, and I was like, no, I can't. Like I don't want.
That is the hardest part. If you don't want to know spoilers, social media like is.
Yeah, I like stayed clear of stories for like 3 days because everybody was talking about it. And I do like listening to the radio and stuff when they give you like a good heads up, like spoiler alert, we're about to spoil, so turn your radio off. But anyway, I mean, as far way back to when it first started, who was the first Bachelor? Was it Andrew Firestone?
No, it was that Alec guy, I think, right? And I just remember
yeah.
We were all so surprised, but I think it was because they ended up Well, not because I'm sure he really loved her, but do you remember they got down and dirty before the was that
Yeah.
the first season?
I mm,
They hooked up before she was the last one, I think, in the fantasy suites. And granted, I mean, it's 2000 and whatever. People are doing that. We know that, they know that, but they like talked about it on TV. And then for
yeah.
seasons, it just nobody talked about it. And now they're kind of talking about it again. But
Yeah. No,
I
it's
know,
definitely, I mean, here we are. How many seasons? 20,
I don't even know.
and that's just The
The
Bachelor, not
right,
including The
there's
Bachelorette.
or Bachelor Pad that they used to do, or
Oh,
Bachelor.
right. Bachelor in Paradise. And
I will say one thing I've noticed, the changes in The Bachelor. I mean, we're getting older, obviously, but the contestants are getting younger and younger. It makes it so hard to watch and actually take them serious at The Bachelor, who, nothing against the recent Bachelor and not anything against abstinence or anything, but like the whole notion that someone can be 26 years old, a virgin, and then pick someone who's 22 years old to spend the rest of their lives with them. They didn't get engaged also. But do you know what I mean? It's just, it's so much
right.
harder to relate to than it used to be. Because it used to be
Yeah.
a lot of professionals, people in their late 20s, early 30s, which is usually when you do those things, if you're doing them, for lack of better terms, traditionally. Like, I hate to say that because love is love and it comes in all kinds of
Right.
ways on all kinds of timelines. But it just, I don't know. The last couple of seasons I've definitely struggled with watching, but I think that's our guest. I mean, do you want to say anything else before we go into our guest? Because I think this is a good segue.
No, I mean, I think it's a perfect segue. Yeah, go for it.
She's like a unicorn in that sense, I think. Like, how often now do you get an intelligent person who already has like not even necessarily a career, but a path, something that they are passionate about, who's not 19, who believes in themselves and who's well spoken.
Right. And like for me, following this person now, it's not like batch. I mean, obviously, like, the name and you're drawn to them, but like for me now, like following her, it's like not on a Bachelor fan level, if
Totally.
that makes
She's
sense.
transcended The Bachelor. She's
Yeah.
taken her whole life experience and turned it into something that she wants it to be. And I don't think I mean, I don't know. Like, well, her name is Elizabeth Sandoz. Presta is her new
Now it's
married
Presta, recently
name.
married.
Yeah. And she was on Nick Vile's season of The Bachelor. And I think we can all remember Nick as how would you describe Nick? I mean, he was like on The Bachelorette twice. He was on Bachelor in Paradise, and he was The Bachelor. And I will say his season though was like the last time he had really smart, cool girls. Like, he had Rachel, who was The Bachelorette.
There was a lot from that
Yeah.
season.
Liz, who we spoke with, she's so awesome. Raven, I like her. She's the entrepreneur from Arkansas. I'm forgetting
Um,
other people, I'm sure.
Christina, I think Christina was on that season.
Oh, the Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexis
Oh, the
Waters was
Dolphin
on.
Girl. Yeah, but
Love
that
her.
really was one of the most recent seasons, I think, where they had a lot of smart, fun people to watch. Now I feel like it's just people trying to get famous on Instagram or something.
The scallop fingers that they
Yeah,
coined
for
in
Bachelor in
Paradise.
Paradise. I
She
can't
was
remember.
on his season.
Yeah, she was an
Um,
entrepreneur too. I think she was a wedding photographer. But Liz, I love Liz.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Liz is a doula. And she also is now a podcaster, and you should talk about Miraculous Mamas, because we're both listeners, but I think you've been listening a lot more recently than I've had time to. So I think you could speak better to that probably.
Well, yeah. So some of you may know the podcast. So it originated as Babes and Babies, and when it first started, she co-hosted with Jade and Carly, two other women from Bachelor,
Bachelor in Paradise. Yeah.
those seasons. So it started then, and just recently, It's transitioned to, and it started, and it was just kind of like mom stuff. I feel like it was mom stuff, and they were talking about mom life and kids and babies
and
and
pregnancy
a
a lot
lot.
of Bachelor related stuff, which I don't think she's doing as much anymore.
Right.
It seemed like they'd get past Bachelor connection people or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So that was kind of how it started. And just recently it transitioned, and you can still find her podcast under Babes and Babies, just because she hasn't officially changed the name yet. But she is now calling it Miraculous Mamas. So you can find her on Instagram that way. Yeah. And Facebook. And so anyway, she's now doing the podcast by herself. And I am like huge fan.
Oh, me too.
Fan.
She's just awesome. The thing I love, not the most, but I feel as though and now I'm going to try really hard not to use that word, but I feel as though when I'm listening to those podcasts, a lot of those people say like every other word. And
I know.
It's so obnoxious. She is so well spoken. She really knows her subject area. It comes across when you speak with her, not scripted even,
And I mean, it goes along with her like mission. I just said it.
I know. I'm about to say it too. I'm probably gonna say like.
You shouldn't have brought it up, because now that's all we're gonna say. See, and then I say like way too much. If anybody has tips on how to break habits like this without, like, I feel like I'm gonna sit here and look constipated, which I have so much gut issues going on right now. I mean, it's kind of fitting, but
that's so funny.
I'm gonna like consciously try to not say things, and it's just gonna be awkward. But anyway. So her podcast is totally transitioned, and it's night and day. So if you originally were a listener to Babes and Babies with the 3 hosts, and you maybe stopped tuning out because it just wasn't your jam, you weren't into it, I really encourage you to go back in and start listening again. It's season 2, like the second episode of the season, and I think it was like 50 something.
I think she said, or 58
something.
But she's definitely focusing. It's still obviously motherhood related, but I think there's a lot of women's health things that she talks about too. She's definitely a whole health being kind of person. The mind, the body, the spirit, how those things come together.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, it's very education based, and it just goes to show, like, and it speaks to her as a person. She just comes across, and she comes across that way because she is so educated and so well-rounded, and she's traveled everywhere. I mean, this girl has literally seen everywhere and seen things. So her mission for the Moms and Mamas, Miraculous Mamas podcast is to empower women and bring community through storytelling and education. And that's exactly what she does. She has guests on the show, and they talk about everything. And what's fascinated Maria and I with her and her podcast is that she doesn't single out one type, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
She, talks about all things related to women and babies, and how, you could experience things in like, for example, and when we were talking with Liz, like we talked about, like between Maria and I, we have 4 pregnancies, and all 4 of those pregnancies have been night and day, like totally different. So yeah, she just, is a believer in that there isn't one right way and there isn't a wrong way. There's multiple different ways. And she just tries to help educate women through storytelling and interviewing other people and guests. And she's had some really amazing guests on her show.
Oh, definitely. And I love that intro you just gave, because I think it really highlights her doula work too. So basically her podcast is like, I said, like, it's like taking the core values of what a doula does, and she's applying them to her podcast. You know, as a doula, she acts as the support system in the room, whether you're laboring, whether you're recovering from a cesarean, whether it's prenatal or postnatal. She's there to guide you, to help you, to offer different kinds of resources. And doulas, it's funny because I feel like, again, doulas were historically such a common thing to have with you when you were giving birth and preparing to give birth. And it's really been in the transition of medical treatment advancing, it seems, that maybe they're less common than they used to be. But anyway, without further ado, should we bring on the Bachelor unicorn?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
okay,
do
guys.
it.
So we're going to
cut and
paste. Let me see. Now I'm recording.
There. All right. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So I just want to take a moment really quick and welcome Liz to the show. We are so honored to have you here. Maria and I have been longtime fans of yours and have been following your Miraculous Mama podcast, and we truly love your mission with that in empowering women and bringing community through storytelling and education. I know I could listen to you for hours. I just,
oh, that's so sweet.
I mean, it's so, every episode of the podcast, there's so much information and so much knowledge, and it's just, I look forward to every episode. And I know Maria does as well. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself really quick to our listeners.
Yeah, of course. I'm Elizabeth Presta. People may know me as Liz Sandoz. I work as a doula, a birth and labor doula. I've got certified to be a life coach a few years back, and that is a part of my practice that I implement in with my doula clients, is working through fears and stuff like that. I went through so many different, I went to go get my doula certification like 7 years ago, and I did all of the work for it, and then I moved to Africa, and then I came back and I did it again, and I did all the work for it, and then I moved to Canada. So I'm actually just getting my certification right now, but you don't have to necessarily be certified to practice. I've taken all the courses, I read all the books, I wrote all the papers. Mine was just not submitting everything on a deadline, which now is submitted. So yay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
but thank you. But it's been a passion of mine, and the really cool thing the thing that I'm really, really passionate about is educating women, because I feel like the more informed you are, the more you can just make better decisions for yourself. And that decision is going to look different for every person, but you should at least know all of your available options, if they are available for you. And that comes in so many different forms, not even just with birthing, that comes into trying to conceive, it comes into fertility, it comes into new parenting, breastfeeding, sleeping, right? There's so many different things that you get bombarded with. And it's like, all right, well, here's a list of resources. You can do it this way, this way, this way, this way. And honestly, whatever way you choose is good for you, but at least make an informed decision. Don't think you just have to do one way. And I just got passionate about becoming a doula because I was living in Las Vegas I lived there for 12 years, and that's where I started practicing. And we had the highest C-section rate in the country. It was 40%. And a lot of my friends were getting induced early and ending up in emergency C-sections. And I just started doing research. I'm like, I just don't feel like this is how the birthing experience is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, there's definitely reasons for medical induction. There's definitely reasons for going early. Absolutely. But most of them that it was happening to, they were just like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I'm ready to go. And the doctor's like, cool, we can induce you then.
Wow.
And then they'd end up in a C-section. And instead of, that's where I partner with and come alongside and give you all the benefits for maybe waiting, or give you encouragement or ideas to keep you comfortable until the time comes, until, your doctor is like, okay, yeah, now we need to get the baby out. Or you're like, go into labor. So, yeah, I absolutely love being a doula. I'm super excited. I'm going to be launching some online stuff soon too, some courses, but, and then with the podcast, I mean, the podcast started a little over a year ago with my other co-hosts, and it was kind of like a passion project. It was something Jade and I had talked about like for a while, and, you know, and we had decided to do it, and I was super excited to be able to bring a different perspective on it. I knew that I'm not a mom, but I've been to a lot more births than most people I know. So, you know, I've been to C-sections, I've been to home births, I've been to hospital births. I've had so many different experiences with it, and I've read all the books about it, you know? So just being able to bring a state of curiosity to the conversation, to ask questions that maybe people wouldn't ask, so that the people listening could really get the best information. And then, man, in February, then the podcast, I'm kind of rebranding now on my own to Miraculous Mamas. And it is just, I'm super excited to be able to focus more on just the storytelling and the education. I just feel like education is the most important thing. And a lot of people think that means reading a book or going to school. And it's like, no, it can be listening to a podcast. You know, I myself listen to like 4 different pregnancy podcasts because it just so intrigues me. And there's so much for me to learn. And that's what I want to be able to give to the listeners is, hey, maybe you don't agree with this, or maybe this isn't your point of view, but I guarantee if you listen, there's one thing that you could take away from it.
Oh, totally.
And then with storytelling, with people sharing their experiences, their birth stories or their postpartum struggles, it just makes women feel like they're not alone in a time when so many people do, especially that postpartum period, you know? So just really bringing a sense of community. So yeah, that's who I am. That's what I do. And I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's like Maria and I both have had 2 babies. And so of the 4 pregnancies and births, they've all been so very different. And it just, it's so easy, I feel like this day and age, to be judged and like the way you do things. And so like through I mean, you know, just listening to your podcast alone for me, myself, like it totally brings a whole new perspective. And there's something to say about that personal, hearing it from somebody's point of view, and in a way where they're not telling you that this is the right way and this is the wrong way, just this is what worked for me and that sort of thing. So I think like they're all so different. And I think
and that's something. Oh no, go ahead.
No, please continue.
No, I was just gonna say, and I think that that's something to be celebrated. Like moms they're the best, right? I mean, you're a mama bear, you're protective, you will literally die and kill for your children. And we have the opportunity to support each other in that, like, it takes a village concept, but also moms can also be so judgmental. And that's where I'm trying to be like, listen, it's cool if you do it this way and somebody else does it that way. Like, let's not judge each other. Let's be like, oh, cool, that worked for me. This is what works for me. And support each other in our journeys, because our ultimate goal is to raise good human beings. That's what matters.
I love that you use the word journey, because to me, a doula, and even your podcast for that matter, you act as this guide in a way. Like you are helping people sort of stay on the trail and navigate something that can be very scary with a clear, and I don't want to say disconnected because you're obviously very connected, but you are offering a different perspective that's not coming from this flight or fight kind of area. You know, like you said, as a mama bear, you are willing to lay down and give everything, like your life. And it's so important in any kind of birth situation to have someone who's conscious-minded, able to help you talk about different decisions and remind you of those decisions, because when you're delirious or whatever, it's hard to remember those things. But I was hoping, can you tell us some about your doula work and how you said you've, began the doula work when you were in Vegas and then you moved to Africa. Did you continue to do doula work abroad, or were you not able to?
I didn't, but I definitely educated myself on birth and other cultures. So the first time I went, not really. I didn't really get involved in it. But then the second time I had taken a job in Tanzania at a safari lodge. So I worked very, very closely with the Masai Mara tribe there. We hired a lot of the people, and I managed like a small group of them. So I remember just asking lots and lots of questions because I mean, with some of it's like very sacred, but also I felt kind of like, who am I to be a part of this experience? Now, if I could go back, I'd be like, hey, like, who will let me watch?
Yeah.
But also it was that community. Man, I visited the tribe one day and this little girl ran up to me and just like interlocked fingers with me. And she was, man, 9. Her sister was 12, and you greet them differently. Like I went to like pat the younger ones on the head because they're little, but the older ones you don't because they're women. Once you've gotten your period, like you don't get that anymore. But this girl interlocked fingers with me and we were walking and they were telling me about how she was going to become a woman soon and would be circumcised. And so female circumcision is very huge in that community, which changes the whole birth experience.
Totally.
Women literally rip open, because they're sewn shut. And that is, I didn't know if at the time, that was 5 years ago, it was like, man, that might, it scared me because I'm like, I was scared, like, what if this woman bleeds out to death? Like, what if I didn't know what that looked like in their culture? They definitely do have a takes a village mentality. The village where I was, the men would marry several women. So the women would all kind of help raise each other's children. But I mean, I feel like it changed my perspective though on a lot of things. And it gave me a passion for wanting to continue to learn more about cultures and birthing. And in May, I forgot what month we're in right now. May is Pregnancy Awareness Month. So part of what I'm going to do on the podcast every week in the intros is give a pregnancy or birth statistic from another culture, and then a pregnancy or birth statistic from like different animals, like how elephants are pregnant for like 3 years. That's crazy. Just like things like that. But the cool thing in Africa too, though, is like, I remember driving down the road and we stopped in the middle because this zebra was in the road, and then this baby just fell out.
Oh my
it gave
God.
birth. Well, it wasn't like a road, it was dirt, but
yeah.
And literally the zebra bent down, licked it a little bit. The baby zebra got up, looked at us, and like walked off. Oh. I was like, what the heck? Like,
nuts.
They're so intelligent and cool.
Nature is incredible, huh?
Right. So I think that it gave me a lot of different perspective, and just how this is just something that this is life. This is how life continues. Every single organism on this earth has to like give life in order to continue. Maybe it multiply. Maybe it's just cells multiplying. Maybe there's so many different ways. But it definitely, I wanted to come back and continue that work from being there.
Do you apply a lot of those lessons or observations from your times abroad to your current doula work?
I don't know, because birthing here is so different. I think for me, it's the open-mindedness of, you have the right to make whatever decision you want. And it's not about me. It's not about my beliefs. It's not about what I think I would do in this situation. This is about you. Yeah. This is what you're going to be comfortable with. This is what will help you have the best birthing experience, but also being open to knowing it doesn't always go that way. And that's where I get to emotionally support you and help you through that. And I think that just having life experience and learning just to really be open-minded and see things through different colored glasses just broadens your horizons in general in any career that you'd go in. You just can relate to so many different people.
Totally. So speaking of people, this is obviously a very one-on-one profession. You are meeting with people in the prenatal phase. You're there with them through labor, post. Can you walk us through a little bit of that too? Like, what does it look like when you hire a doula, for example?
Yeah. Well, when you hire a doula, I always try to meet at least a few times before the birth. I've had somebody hire me a week before they had a baby, and we never, I met her randomly at a party when she was talking about getting pregnant, and then she got pregnant, and I was like, if you get pregnant, let me know. And then she didn't let me know. And then the couple weeks before her birth, she was like freaking out because her first one, her baby was frank breech, and she had a C-section, and she was going for a VBAC. So she had started to have a lot of fears and anxiety come up. So she called me the week before. So we talked on the phones a few times, and I was like, okay, I'll plan on coming over. We had a date scheduled to when I was going to come over, and then she went into labor. So I met her at the hospital.
To her house to visit her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we didn't even get to meet in person. I'd met her once randomly, but that's before she was even pregnant. So once she hired me, we didn't even get to meet in person, but I showed up at the hospital, and that baby actually just turned 1 today.
Oh, wow.
Is it the 17th?
Birthday.
Yeah, it's the 17th.
It is.
She turned 1 today.
That's so cool.
And she had a successful VBAC, and her
awesome.
Her OB was amazing. He was so supportive and so awesome. All the nurses at that hospital were awesome, which is, it's so nice when you get to work just in unity with other people in the profession. Because I don't do anything medical, so when you have medical staff that is just loving on that mama as well, it makes my job easier too.
Right.
So, but people hire me at all different phases. I've had people contact me at the beginning. I've had people contact me toward the end, but basically it's getting in contact. I like to have a conversation. Do they have any questions? I think it's very important when you're hiring a doula to don't think that you have to hire the first one that you talk to either. There's a lot different out there, and maybe you don't vibe with one, I've met people at Starbucks for coffee to talk, and, or it's been a FaceTime or just over the phone conversation. And then normally I send them a contract that we sign, and it goes over what I do, what I don't do, the costs, the payments, things like that. A big part of my job is that you have to call me. If you go into labor and you text me, I'm going to be sleeping. I don't wake up to text. You have to call me. That's a huge part of the field that I'm in, is literally call me. If you think anything, call me. Even if even if I tell you, okay, just keep an eye on it, maybe get some rest, whatever, depending on your birth plan, what that is, but call me. That is so important. If I don't answer the first time, call again. So it's basically when I have clients, I'm living with my phone on loud,
I was just gonna ask, you're basically on call
all the time.
Right.
On call.
Yeah. I mean, since I knew I was getting married and everything, I didn't take any clients between January and May. Also because I'm restructuring some of my business stuff, but people hire me at all different points in the journey, and then I usually meet them either at their hospital or their home. If their plan is to labor at home, and then go to the hospital and meet them there, or obviously in a home birth, I'll meet them there. If their plan is to head to the hospital right away, which honestly, doctors don't even tell you necessarily to head to the hospital right away. It's depending on how far apart your contractions are and what your signs of labor are, which I can help you with the signs of labor. But always, if you are freaked out about anything or whatever, I always just say, call your doctor. So sometimes we labor at home, sometimes it's at the hospital. Depending on what the hospital is, I'll bring different supplies. And then I have a rebozo that I use.
What is a rebozo? I'm sorry.
It's from South America. It's like this scarf that you use, and I wrap it around the belly.
Oh, yeah.
Do different like hip squeezes or whatever. I'll bring a ball.
Oh, that's so, and you do that. So you are like holding the mama up. Okay.
Yeah, it is a workout. My arms have been on fire
I
before.
can imagine. My second, someone did that. And I remember she came in, I didn't remember what it was called. She was like, I'm going to try this thing, and I just looked at her and I thought, what are you doing?
But it's awesome because it's also, it's also a way for me to get the dad involved too.
Yeah.
I also love to ask, what level of involvement do you want? I like to ask the mom more than the dad. The dad might be like, I don't want anything. The mom's like, oh yes, you will. So it's like knowing how to help him help her. So I get a lot of people who are scared that you're going to take over the man's position. But I can tell you that my dads have been one of my biggest advocates because they were like, she helped out so much, and then he was just able to comfort her. Or if I was doing those hip squeezes, he could be in front of her being like, babe, you got this.
Totally.
Being more intimate with her, or showing him how to help her so that he feels purposeful in that and not helpless. And then sometimes with long births or labors, you have to tag team things, man. I've been at the hospital for 3 days before. So, we did shift naps and food runs and all sorts of things.
I'll get the coffee this time.
Yeah, right. So, it's every single journey that I've done is so incredibly different. And, but the thing that I love about it is being that constant, because with a 3-day labor, you're going to have nurse shift changes. You don't even know for sure if your doctor's going to deliver you. He might not be on call, but I get to be that constant,
Totally.
Whoever you choose to be your birth team, they get to be there with you throughout the entire thing. Massaging you, brushing your hair, squeezing your hips, whatever it is, So yeah, it's every single client that has hired me, it's been a whole different experience, which I love.
Yeah. I like listening to you talk about all this stuff. I'm like sitting here like, I think I got shafted a little bit during my first with my son laboring. Like I didn't get any of that. How does that look with like C-section moms? Like, do you feel like, because I know like for me, I had asked at the hospital that I delivered at, actually both of them, well, not the first one because it was emergency, but with my second, I had asked about having more than one support person in the room, and the hospital was just like, nope, sorry, there's too many people in that room. And not that
you're talking about the OR, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like during the actual delivery, like for you to work with somebody all through that, like, not all through it, but to work up until that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got to go to the OR. Do you feel like because you are, a doula and a major support person that the hospital is more likely to let you in there? How does that work? Have you a lot of times encountered where you're not allowed?
Yeah, I've never been allowed in the OR. Oh. And it's actually something that we're trying to work to change, because it's not just us asking, but it's actually the nurses asking.
Yeah.
Being like, we would love that person who's been with them to have that extra emotional support, or to kind of be that constant again, especially when so many different things happen in there, and they're focused on making sure that you're good, you're stitched up, the baby's good, but, having, just that extra support. But right. I don't know if it's going to change or not. I've been in 2 different situations with C-sections, where the one was we labored for a while and it ended in a C-section. And I, had a conversation with her before she went in, tried to emotionally comfort her. And then after coming in and congratulating her. And the thing is too, they only let one person in the recovery room, which doesn't really make sense, because then the dad has to leave her in order to go get me to come in. And then I have to leave her for the mom to come in, so if just the dad could stay or I could stay, it's just one person in there who can stay with her because that's a huge roller coaster. That's a big thing that your body just went through. And,
Right.
you know, it's nice to just have maybe somebody there. I mean, if you wanted alone time, then that's a whole different situation. But, you know, I think with the C-section, I find that it's a lot more emotional support, especially after, except for I did have a client who found out a few weeks before her birth that her baby was frank breech and it was going to be a scheduled C-section. So then in that situation, I just have an open, honest conversation with them. You know, like, do you want me there? Here's, you know, here's the benefits. Here's what could whatever. Here's, it's totally up to you. I don't take it personally. If they're like, you know what, it's going to end up in a C-section. I honestly was hoping that we could labor through it. And I don't want to, you know, pay for this if I'm not getting that experience. Then it's like, cool, let's talk about that. And that's fine. But that hasn't happened to me yet. Like my client that had the C-section was like, no, I still want you there. So, and it was such a different experience going in and her knowing that she's getting prepped for surgery and me being able to talk her through some things and be like, all right, well, let's talk about your fears. Like what's going on, you know?
Right.
And being like, you know what? The cool thing is though, you know that in an hour, you're going to get a hold your baby boy.
Right.
You know, most people going into labor aren't like, hey, in an hour I'm gonna have my baby. It's like, you never know. But it's like, you know, what's really cool is like in an hour, like you get to be a mom. Like, I mean, you are a mom, but like you get to hold that baby that you've been nurturing and you're gonna be healthy. You know, you're gonna be fine. Your baby's gonna be fine. Everything looks good. He's just not in a good position, you know? So just being able to provide that support and then come in and champion with them that even though it was a C-section, guess what? You did it. Like you brought life into the world and you are a conqueror, you know?
Right. Right. Do you know the number of births that you've been a doula for? Do you know what that number is?
There was like ones that I was a part of and then ones that I was the sole doula for. So, I mean, not as many as I'd like, but for the sole doula, like 15.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
My favorite things I saw on your website was one of the, you had like, I don't want to call it an endorsement or a review, but you have repeat moms. I think that is
I do.
Part that I wasn't lucky enough to have a doula, but I had, I guess she was a doula. I had someone with me for both of my births, and having her with me for the second one was, I could never have another baby without her. I can totally see how, like, I think that's
how that would happen.
The work that you do.
It was hard because no, it's very rewarding. And like one of them, it was really cool. So I wasn't with her first birth, and then her second birth was in a hospital. And that was like right when I started getting into it. And also like throughout this, I've also always worked a full-time job because you don't make that much money as a doula. So I'm finally at a place right now where I can take on more clients because I don't work at a restaurant anymore. And it's like, I can focus on this, but it was like hard when you live on call, but you also have to pay your bills. Right. And that's the hard thing about being a doula. You know, but finally, like I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I do want to take on 10 clients a year and stuff like that. But she was one of my first births. So this was like in 2012 or 13. And it was in a hospital. And then 2 years ago, she had another baby and it was at home. And they were so different experiences because she didn't call me until I get there. And I'm like, this baby's going to drop out of you. And the midwife's not there yet. I'm like, I might have to deliver this baby. I do not feel comfortable delivering this baby. Like, you know, and I'm like, Ashley, like, you know, but we made it through and the midwife showed up and everything was beautiful because she did not call me until she was in transition.
And you were like,
I feel like I could see the baby's head. Right. You're lucky I live 15 minutes away.
Right.
But, you know, and then she's actually due right now with her third. And she was like, Liz, you have to be my doula. But I had moved to Chicago.
Oh.
And she was actually, I think she's a little bit late right now. So I'm like, it's just so hard to schedule with traveling. I'm like, I would love to come, but essentially I could be there for a month. What if you go a week or two early? What if you go a week or two late? Like, I just got married. I can't spend a month away from my husband, you know? So it's so sad. It's like bittersweet, but I've been messaging with her a little bit because she was like, she's like, you got to finish this with me. And I'm like, I can't. I wish I could, but I can't.
But you're providing emotional support, and that's, you know.
Here and there. But yeah, so.
That's so awesome.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
One of my clients was here in Chicago. She was messaging me the other day, and she was like, you have to be my doula next time. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And she was like, I'm just so worried that you're going to be pregnant or having your baby or that you can't do it. And I'm like, it's fine. I was like, Vito and I are planning on trying in like a year. And she was like, that's when we're trying again, Liz. She was like,
oh, that's so funny.
I was like, if I'm 9 months pregnant, I'll still be your doula.
Right. Yeah. You just got to make sure the end time is a little bit different.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think that kind of leads us into, how does your doula work coincide with your own trying to conceive? You've been super open about that. And, you know, like, obviously you just said you're planning on working straight through, but does your doula work kind of outline your own birth plan? Like, have you made decisions or have you envisioned how you want your birth plan to be based on your own personal work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being in and out of so many hospitals and like home experiences, I've definitely learned a lot. And just through my education and training, the books that I had to read, you know, it's like all those some of it is parenting books, it's laboring books, it's birth books, it's breastfeeding books, you know, so I feel like I've absorbed all this information, but then again, you have to interpret it into how you want it to go. And that's a conversation with you and your partner as well. So right now, what I envision and what Vito envision are different visions.
Oh, really?
So yes, we're working on it though. Yeah, I mean, I will definitely hire a doula. And I kind of have in mind what I would like, but I think that right now, what I really want to focus on is really just getting my body healthy. I don't think I'm not healthy, but I've definitely had a few health issues. I know I have some gut stuff going on. I get diarrhea way more than the average person. So I'm like,
Devin started on gut health.
Yeah. I've been having so many issues.
I mean, last year I pooped in a box.
I love how transparent you are about all of this. Like, listening to you talk about it, I'm like, oh my God, I can relate so much to so much of this.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a child when I have to like poop in public. All of a sudden it hits me and I'm like, I'm going to poop my pants. I'm going to poop. I got to go. I'm going to poop my pants. And like, it's not, there's something wrong. But I'm actually getting some tests done soon in the next week. I'm going to test I've never done an allergy test and just even my hormones, because so many things can throw that stuff off. So, and just this last year with planning a wedding and moving, and I just haven't been my healthiest either. Yeah. So we're just, Vito and I both just really, because a lot of times the woman takes on the responsibility of like, I got to get my body ready for pregnancy. And it's like, no, he does too. Like, you don't know how much that affects their sperm as well. So, the weight doesn't just fall on us, but we've talked about really wanting to just get really healthy, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And that's what we're going to do this next year, is really just focus on nourishing ourselves, nourishing our bodies, our souls, our relationship, before we start to try to conceive.
Oh, I just love that. We really focus on a lot of those things with our second also, as far as getting our whole beings together up to speed. And
yeah,
I'm really happy.
I feel like we'll never have it together, but we'll try.
Good faking it, I guess. Right.
right.
Oh, that's so awesome. I know we're kind of pressed for time and we don't want to keep you much longer.
That's okay.
But
that's fine.
we just love you. And we really appreciate you coming on. Devin, I think you had a couple of things you wanted to say. Oh, actually.
Well, I think we touched on quite a few of those within that conversation, which is awesome.
I wanted to ask you, our thing here is sharing our obsessions. Will you tell us something you're obsessed with? And it doesn't have to be doula or childbirth related. It could be like your cool black headphones. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with Richard Rohr. He is.
I don't know who Richard Rohr is. I'm writing this down.
No, Richard Rohr. Well, he's actually like, I don't know how to describe it. He's like a Catholic. I don't know what they're called because I'm not Catholic. It's not like a priest, but he's like a parish man. I don't know what they're called. But he's just a teacher. He's an author. And I heard him on a podcast years ago, and I had never related to somebody more spiritually than I did when I heard him speak. And he talks about how like God and energy, like God, when it talks about spirit, that's sending him into every living being, you know, like the spirit like kind of runs through everything and connects us all. And it almost, it's just such a different view on Christianity. And it's something that I relate to a lot. So anytime I hear him speak, I get his daily meditations and he just blows my mind. Everything that comes out of his mouth, I'm like, I love you. Like, you're amazing. And he like opened a different side to me. So, I'm obsessed with Richard Rohr.
I love that.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm also obsessed with Friends. Like, my life revolves around Friends quotes. Like I'll be in the sitcom. Like, if something happens, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like that episode where Joey that's what I think in my head. But I'm like, I can't say that loud because people will be like, you're literally psycho.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, you sound pretty well balanced to me then.
Somewhere in the middle. I did want to address the mom question real quick though, that we had talked about before.
Yes, I was just going to bring that back up.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you ask it then.
Go ahead, Maria.
Oh, all right. Sorry. I feel like I'm monopolizing you.
No, you're good.
So before we hit record, and because we're unedited, our viewers are familiar with this and how we roll, but we had asked Liz if we could ask her, let me just preface this. When we were researching you and looking things up, and we've been longtime listeners of your podcast, when I typed in doula into the Google search, one of the top things that came up was, should I hire a doula that's not had her own children? And, Devin and I have been longtime listeners of your podcast, like I said, and we've noticed sometimes people will say things like, well, Liz, you haven't had kids yet, or this or that. And we just want to know, like, can you answer that for our viewers? Like, what do you say to people that are asking that question?
Yeah. So
comment.
Yeah. Honestly, I've never come across it. I've had maybe people ask me and we just have a conversation about it. But my answer is always when people are like, well, how can you be a doula if you've never had a baby? And I'm like, okay, like, who's your doctor? And they're like, oh, Dr. blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, I've worked with him before. He's never had a baby. How can he deliver your baby if he's never had a baby? Like, help you through this. Like, he doesn't know what it feels like to be pregnant and give birth, but he's studied it, right? This is his profession. Well, the same applies to me. Like, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be pregnant and give birth, but I've studied it. This is my art. This is what I'm truly passionate about, and what that's why I listen to 5 different pregnancy podcasts so I can be a better doula. That's why I read books that I do, or subscribe to the email lists that I do that send me information about how to be a better doula, how to bring this on your next birth, how to, I'm a part of different doula communities because I want to be the best doula that I can. And that it's never been an issue for me, but I feel like if you don't feel comfortable hiring a doula that hasn't had a baby, then don't. Find one that works for you and a fit for you. But it's never been an issue in my case. I feel like we always hire people who in different areas, who maybe haven't gone through what we have. Like, has your dentist had a root canal before? But he performs them because he studied it. But he doesn't know how you feel. He knows it hurts, but until you've had that experience, and even then, birthing is a different experience for every single person. So even if you have someone that has had a baby, maybe their experience was completely different from yours. So how could they relate?
Totally. I love that you said that, because even the same person can have completely different birthing experiences.
Right.
Ah,
Yeah, no, I love how you answer that. And it's like, makes you kind of step back for a minute and are like, oh yeah, you're right. There's so many different things that you encounter in life that, you know, the person who's helping you through it or walking you through it maybe hasn't experienced it at all themselves.
Right. No, absolutely. And I know that I've gotten some heat with like some of the podcast changes and people being like, oh, you're not even a mom or whatever. And honestly, I just don't say anything. But it's like, I've probably read more mom books, and I've been to more births, and I've seen all the different spectrums of it
than the two of us put together.
Well, and I'm not biased then, because I've seen so many different births and experiences and so many different people's breastfeeding journeys or postpartum journeys that it's not like I don't have this bias of, oh, well, this is how it is because that's how it was for me. It's like, no, I go into it open-minded because I'm like, I know that this isn't how it is for everybody. And I know my journey will be completely different. And when I feel it, it'll be just another added, thing to my story. But I'm able to bring that outsider perspective of not being judgmental or biased in my conversations, because I'm not trying to get the answers to validate my experience.
Totally. I love that you said that. It really brings back, the way we began the whole interview with that you are a guide. You're there to bring peace and calm and different options to fruition that you may have forgotten about in the heat of the moment. And you don't, like you said, you don't have to have done those things. You just have to know about them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super excited that you guys asked me to do this.
Well,
yeah, no, we were
for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been so great. I just love you, and
thank you.
Love everything that you're doing. Can you share with our listeners where people can find you? And
I mean, my Instagram, I guess, is Sandoz. The podcast Instagram is Miraculous Mamas. If you want to email me any questions or anything you have, you can email me at elizabeth@elizabethjoy.co. My website should be up. I know I'm redoing it because I've written like a travel blog. I had my doula stuff, and now I'm doing some like products and services. So I'm trying to combine everything on one website, and it's going to be elizabethjoy.co, because elizabethjoy.com was taken.
The nerve.
I know. Well, it is by somebody who bought it 9 years ago and has never used it. So we tried contacting
her, awful.
And she just never got back to us. So we're like, curses. But that's all right. .co, I can roll with it. And then, the podcast, it's still under Babes and Babies. The Miraculous Mamas part starts at episode 53, but I'm working really, really hard to get it rebranded. Not everything is in my control. So it should be, hopefully the new logo and stuff will be up there soon. It's something that, I've submitted everything for, and hopefully I'm not the only decision maker. So hopefully things will be switched over soon. But
well, we'll be sure
to Babies for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we'll put all of that stuff in the comments for sure.
Well, Liz, thank you so much. And, we'd love to have you on another day, because I feel like we could talk to you for hours about all kinds of different births. Like Devin said, between the two of us, we have 4 totally different kinds of births. So maybe again, one day it would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this kind of stuff. It always just like gets me fired up too, so I'm like,
for sure.
Because I could talk about doula stuff and births all day long.
I can tell. And you really have such a natural affinity, and you're just a very nurturing person. I can tell.
Thank you. I make Vito watch birthing videos, and he's like, and he's like, because I know how he is, and he gets anxiety. And he's like, I remember showing this video. He's like, there's no way that baby's alive. It's purple. There's no way it's alive. And I'm like, babe, it's fine. Like sometimes babies look like that when they come out. Or I've showed him ones where they like are white, like the vernix is really, really thick. Yeah. And he's like, that's dead for sure. That baby's not okay. That baby's you're saying that baby's okay right now. I'm like, yes, babe, like this baby's fine. It's normal. Like it can look so many different ways. I just don't want you, when I'm having the baby, to be freaking out.
Horrified.
Yeah, because then you're going to make me anxious, you know? So I make him like watch things and he's like, oh, but now I think
the
he's
most
like getting
prepared
used to
dad.
it. We'll see.
He will.
Either that or I'm just going to be like, go sit in the other room.
Right. Leave me here with my doula. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right. He'll be passed out on the floor, sitting in the other room, or right by my side, killing it. So
Cool.
we'll see.
That's so funny. That's so
I can't
funny.
wait to follow along.
Did you guys decide on a dog yet?
Oh yeah.
Oops, sorry. We have not. Hopefully soon.
Well.
Hopefully soon.
Awesome.
I'm still working on him, so we'll see.
And it not that my opinion matters, but 2 dogs are way better than 1.
Yes.
Just
that's
from
where
my
I'm
personal
at.
Experience. Yes.
Yeah.
2 is better than 1.
In my mind experience, it's the same. In my mental experience. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. This really means the world to us.
Yeah,
Really,
thank you so much. Yeah, I will talk to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Okay, we're back.
Yay.
Wow. That was, I feel like in a very short amount of time, we learned a lot in that
So
episode.
much.
Yeah. So we're just very grateful to Liz that she came and joined us on our very new show that's not that well known, and to share something that maybe there are a lot of misconceptions about still.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she talked a lot about, well, maybe not a lot about, but she talked about like her new and upcoming things. And I'm so excited to see where she goes.
I can't wait to have her back on to talk about things and how they progressed for her. And
and hopefully, we wish her luck in her baby making and the
totally.
start of her family. So,
oh my God,
it kind of blows my mind. And like, I don't know how many of our viewers are like, there it is, the word, who are familiar with a doula. And I mean, I feel like prior to listening to her, like I didn't really know a lot about it. And I kind of, had this notion of like healing and hippie and natural. And she did a great job of showing that, she literally covers all.
Well, I think just providing that extra support to your support person too is something that you
wouldn't even think about. I mean, I joked about it, and not that my support people weren't great, but and I have to just bring this up because it's so funny. When I had, and none of my sisters should ever go into the profession of being a doula. Well, maybe now they'd be better at it, but when I had Drew, everybody was in the room. Everybody.
While you were laboring and trying to put, oh my God.
The whole thing. It was, I had the first baby of all of my sisters, and so it was Sean, my mom, me, obviously, and then all 3 of my sisters, and they legit stood in the corner of the room, like when it was like time to go, literally. I think Danielle and Desi were like embracing each other because they just like didn't even know what to say. And they literally, and my family, like we're not quiet people. They were the quietest they've ever been in their entire life. But it's just so funny for me to look back at that and then now. And anyway, this episode got me just so thinking about, both of my birth experiences and just how different they were. So I think, Maria and I have plans in the future to discuss more in depth our birth experiences, because we are the spectrum. We 4 births and very, very different experiences. And I think we literally hit one end to the other in terms of what they were like. So
statistics I think we got a good average between the 2 of us.
We do. We really do. It's crazy. But so again, thank you, Liz. And it was so much information, and definitely check her out, and we'll be sure to link and do all that. And if, she's a very open person. So if you have any questions or you're researching doula work to practice or interested in one for an upcoming pregnancy, she's definitely a great resource. And like Maria said, she's a busy person, but she's also game to, what did she say? She gets so fired up about it.
Yeah, she's very passionate about it. And you can tell just, in the way she presents her information and the way she talks about things, that is her passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to have her on. She's Miraculous Mamas on Instagram, and her podcast is available everywhere podcasts are available right now under the name Babes and Babies, like you said, but she's going through the transition of rebranding to Miraculous Mamas. And she's also the letter E, Sandoz on Instagram, Sandoz. I am really excited about our next guest, and I think that we should give kind of a little tease intro so that we can get some more material from our viewers.
Yes.
So we have, actually, hold on.
I was going to say, I might have it close too.
Do you? Yours might be easier to grab than mine.
I'm going to do this and try not to knock my iPad over.
Hold on. Mine's right here too. So we have, I think you should hold yours up too. I don't know if you guys can see this. We're going to have,
I can see it.
Kathleen O'Keefe Canavos. She's the co-author to Dreams That Can Save Your Life. She goes by Kat though. Although obviously, to be polite, we'll just make sure. She has been talking to me and using the name Kat. She is an author, but she actually was having, she self-diagnosed her own breast cancer through a series of dreams that she had. And she lives on the West Coast, and she does dream interpretation for her local TV channel. And she's agreed to come on our show, talk about how she self-diagnosed herself. And not only that, but, what she had to do to, I guess, get the medical professionals on board with her, because you can't just walk in and say, I had a dream I had breast cancer, and they're going to treat you, So anyway, it's a fascinating story. She's going to come tell us about that. And then she's also going to do some dream interpretation for us.
And she's willing to spend a significant amount of time on just that part. Yeah. So
it's exciting. So we're actually going to interview her at night too, because for any other potential guests, we have kind of two styles. But one of them is in the evening, and we can have a little cocktail while we talk. So we're excited about that. But so please send us your dreams. They can be anonymous, but I think a lot of kind of common themes are, people that have passed that come see you in a dream to give you a message, or sometimes it's a sexual dream or a violent dream or a confrontational kind of dream. We want anything you want to give us.
Anything and everything. Yeah. And she's literally open to just, we tell her and then she kind of translates. So if you literally are having issues with dreams and you're like, why am I dreaming these things?
Right.
You won't want to miss this opportunity.
No, not at all. So shoot us a message. You can either send us a Facebook message on our Facebook page, which is now up and launched. And for some reason, have you noticed we only have 40 followers on Facebook, but a bunch on Instagram. So those people that are following us on Instagram need to go find us on Facebook too.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. And don't just, if they like the page, does that make them a follower?
I don't know, but you might want to hit follow so you don't miss anything.
Yeah. Make sure. So that way, you don't miss anything. I did see some come into the direct messages on the Instagram. So that's great.
Ooh,
so thank you for those people who have already sent those, but literally it's an open table. God, that word.
I know I say it all the time too, but we're excited. Dreams That Can Save Your Life. Send us your dreams. We're Our Weekly Obsession with Devin and Maria on Facebook. Do you want to give them our Instagram handle?
At Our Weekly Obsession, and it's @ @our_weekly_ _obsession.
I forgot to tell you guys, she's been on the Doctors also, I think.
Yes, you had said that.
But she's been on the Doctors. She's super well known. So we're excited to have her. The Instagram page, I just shook my monitors. Like, subscribe, shoot us a DM, comment, share, tell people about us.
Do all the things. Tell people about us, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because once you subscribe, then you get notifications when all of this good stuff is up. So, and again, this was a great episode, and I just feel like every time we do this, we have a great episode, and then we can't wait for the next one.
I totally agree. I just feel so good after holy smokes, we should have done a whole thank you segment to Mel for coming on to talk about Slack Hill Sugar House.
I know. I
think of her all the time, and especially now when I'm like, I have maple syrup in my cereal in the morning, and every time I pour it into that oatmeal stuff, I just look at it and I think of all that freaking hard work.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
So mad thanks to her, especially because when we recorded that episode, it was the last kind of sugaring day. So they were busy.
Yeah, they just did their clean out. Did you see? She was posting they were washing the truck and stuff.
It looked like a lot of work. Go check it out. Slack Hill Sugar House on Facebook.
Yep. And don't forget to follow Liz Sandoz at Sandoz and Miraculous Mamas. You will love her podcast.
Yeah, totally. Oh. Well, Devin, it's been a lot of fun. I hope you have
so much fun.
Happy Easter, because I know that's this weekend.
Oh, it's Good Friday.
Yeah, happy Good Friday. Something Liz was talking about was, which I was like kind of embarrassed. I said I didn't know who he was. Robert Rohr. I know him. Yeah. Work materials anyway, but it would be fun to have her back on, or someone to talk spirituality, and anyway, that we could like go down a whole rabbit hole with that too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So if you are celebrating Easter, happy Easter. If you're not celebrating Easter, I hope you have a fabulous weekend.
Happy Easter. Yeah. Easter Bunny is definitely coming to our house.
Oh, ours too. I'm so pumped.
Isn't it so exciting?
I'm excited. Yeah.
Have you got the stuff yet?
I did. So last night I went to get some last minute things. Last year Ellen was too small to do like an Easter egg hunt kind of thing. So I got some eggs, and then when I was paying, I saw the glitter eggs. Ooh. I was like, I should have gotten the glitter eggs. They were like, past the register, and I had
next year, because those things, like, we're now on I don't know how many years of using the same eggs, and they just like, you could use them for years and years, but like they fall apart. Next year, put it on your list, glitter eggs.
Yeah, I'll have to. I won't forget it now that I've seen them, but I just was like, glitter eggs?
I'm so excited for an actual Easter bunny to be at our house.
What?
I don't know if people who follow me personally might have seen pictures from last year. I don't know how many I actually posted, but my sister, who finds everything, like if there's something to find, she finds it. Or she just like McDreamy.
Oh, I want one.
Yeah, I know.
Love him.
She found this massive bunny head that you put on. So she was going to go and get like a full gray like sweatsuit or something, so that she could legit dress up as the Easter bunny. So yeah, it'll be.
Does Drew believe in the Easter bunny still?
I don't know. I'll make sure he doesn't watch the end of this episode though.
Yeah, he must be on the fence. I can't wait to hear about it next week when we talk. So
the other day, funny. Yeah. The other day he was like, how do you spell Maria's name? And I was like, why? And he's like, well, I was trying to find you guys on YouTube so I could watch because he gets like an hour of screen time split up across a day on the weekends. So yeah, he was using his screen time the other day, and he was trying to find our podcast. I'm like,
our
YouTube show.
I feel so honored that he was going to use some of his valuable screen time on us.
I know. I was like, oh my God, you literally melt my heart. He's like, oh, I just wanted to, check your channel out.
I love him. Oh my God.
Well,
on that note, I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend all together.
Yes. It's Friday. Yay.
I have to get running because I am at the office today, in case you guys. So,
all right. Thank you, viewers. Thank you,
bye.
watchers. Subscribe. Send us your dreams. Goodbye.
DMs.
Yes.
Bye. Oh, Devin, I'm still
What?
recording. DM. Get it?
I can't believe we didn't pick up on that before.
Me either. So send D&M a DM.
A DM. Hit the DMs.
All right. Okay, now I'm going to stop. See you
Okay,
guys later.
goodbye.